Okay, welcome to another edition of LO Lowdown. Today we have a great guest coming all the way from Bellevue, Washington. Wendi Atencio, how are you today?
I'm good, James. Thanks.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. And by the way, that is her office in Washington. So that is not an apartment. That's not a condo. That is a cool office in Bellevue, Washington. So we were talking about it ahead of time that, I need to head out there and see that. So, but Wendi, great to see you. And thanks again for taking some of the time just to chat with everybody and have them see what, you've accomplished and how you got there. So I always start the first question, and this is probably the easiest one all day, but how did you get into this business?
Oh, goodness. So about 20 years ago, I just had my second child, and I was looking for something that I could do from home, do part-time, have a lot of flexibility. And I actually answered an ad on Craigslist. So I had an interview with a gal out of Kirkland that was at a broker shop, and I instantly joined. We worked out of a company. So we had a small office up in Kirkland, but we worked out of a company down in California. And it kind of just blossomed from there. I went from part-time to full-time pretty quick. I would say probably within 6 months. And then within 2 years, I opened my own brokerage and went off on my own.
Wow. So
funny how things work out, just like a simple little ad that kind of takes you in a complete different direction in your life.
And was it an ad for a loan officer? Did you come in as an LO assistant or
Yeah, it was an ad for an LO. My whole career, I've been on the sales side of it. So either within, being an LO or running a team or in management, but always on the sales side.
Wow. Now, most important, you said your second. How many kids do you have?
3.
What ages?
Oh, goodness. So I have 3 boys. My oldest is 23. My middle son is 19, and my youngest just turned 17, and he's a senior this year. So,
oh my goodness. Wow, that's awesome.
All out of the house.
Yeah,
they're still in the house, but almost all.
Well, out of the house, but certainly just another chapter beginning. That's great.
Yeah.
That's a phenomenal story. So you started the broker business, and then at what point in time, because this is unique, I've not had, so I'm going to throw out my script of questions. Coming from the broker business, what made you think about saying, hey, you know what, I started it up, it probably went great. What made you join then, another lender, or getting, from versus owning your own broker shop?
Yeah, I think those of us that have been in the business for a while remember 07, 08, 09. Those were really tough years, especially for, small companies. I had 13 LOs at one time. And throughout those years, started losing more and more of them to getting, other jobs, going into other industries. Really, when it came down to how hard it was to get government approval as a small company, that's when I chose to go work with someone else. I did net branching for a small period of time. Okay. And then I decided that I just needed to give up all of it, go to work for somebody else. And at that point, I think it was more just the struggles of having to not only feel responsible for my family, but my LOs and people that worked for me family. It was really tough. Yeah. And I just wanted to have to worry about myself at that point. So kind of getting rid of all the management, ownership, all of that, and kind of just having to worry about me and my family was huge.
Yeah. Wow. What a great story. I mean, it's, you can certainly, both sides, and then to do it in the financial crisis, right? I mean, such a, tough thing. So as you think about, you've built a phenomenal career and, built up this business. Is there anything like, because a lot of people are going to watch this and say, wow, how do I accomplish what Wendi's done? Is there anything that, referral business and our partners, anything in terms of how you've built that business as you reflect back on and say, wow, that's what I would tell the, the me getting into the business today to do because it worked real well. Any tips or thoughts there?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest tip is to be able to change through, I mean, our industry is constantly changing, and you're going to have to change the way you market, the way you do business, just every aspect of it. And you're going to have to be willing to change. I feel like a lot of people kind of fight the change, and really they need to be on the forefront of it. They need to see that these things are changing. How do I change ahead of time so then I could take advantage of it? So I think that's the main thing. I mean, as I went through my career, like the first few years, I would say a lot of it was advertising. And then I think the biggest thing, and I think for the future too, is that this is a relationship business. It's always going to be a relationship business. So you can go out and you can, pay for leads and do all of these other things, but it really comes down to the relationships that you build with people, with your clients, with agents, with other kind of referral sources, just anybody out there. Like, you really have to put a lot of time and energy into those relationships to keep them going.
Yeah. What would you say if they, if I were interviewing some of your key, relationships and said, what is it about Wendi that you like and keeps you, entrusting your customers with Wendi? What do you think they'd say?
Well, I think the biggest keyword you said there was trusting. I think people really have to trust you. And I feel like one of the biggest things that I hold myself to is just being honest. So I think the fact that I bring a lot of honesty, people trust me. And then they also know if I say I'm going to get something done, that it's going to happen. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah. What about, is there, just such a great career, and, now obviously you're at, elite levels of success. As you look back, is there any kind of point where you said, okay, I was doing my business this way, and then I changed this, and that's what helped me really grow my career? Did you ever have one of those inflection points?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different times that I'll share. I think the first step was when we had the market crash. I was all about marketing and doing leads that way. And when the market crashed and things came to more of a purchase business, I really had to switch my model and go after relationships. I think that if I would have probably had the support and the coaching in the beginning, I probably would have started out my career with relationship building. But I really had to flip that quickly at that time and start building those relationships with referral partners if I wanted to make it through that time. I mean, It was 3 probably really tough years, where, I mean, honestly, those were a couple years where I was trying to figure out, is this what I want? Is this what I'm going to do with myself? Is there anything else out there that I could feel passionate enough about to do for a career? And I couldn't find anything. At that time, my kids were still young. So I wanted to be able to have the flexibility of time, make good money to support them, as well as, do something that I really enjoyed. And I couldn't think of anything else that I'd rather be doing.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up, because there's as I talked to, obviously, a number of these interviews, every one of you, work extremely hard and put in the hours, but the ability to have that balance and making time, whether it's for when your kids are young or wherever, it is one of the great things about, what you do, and being able to have that, looking back, right? How many people were, working and not able to spend the time with or more time with the kids. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, there was always 2 sides to that. I mean, you have the flexibility to do stuff, but then also you don't ever have time off. So when my kids were younger, we would always be on a vacation, and they'd be like, do you have to take that call? Do you have to take that call? And I'm like, I do have to take that call to pay for this vacation. So, I mean, there was definitely 2 sides to that, but I feel like I could be there and present. I mean, I don't think I ever missed a soccer game. I mean, I probably missed a couple, but there's just things that you want to be able to do for your kids. And it gave me the opportunity to do that. I will say the other thing that I changed in my business that I really tell people that they should do earlier is hire an assistant.
Oh,
Like, it's so hard for people to get past that mental place that like, oh, like, am I gonna do enough production? Can I afford this? Like, you're obviously then responsible for another person.
yeah.
But the best thing I did was hire an assistant and then a second one. So you can really grow your business when you get that extra support. It's scary to take
Mhm.
those steps, but it's well worth it.
Yeah. What does your team look like now? How's it set up and how many people?
So we're kind of a little bit in a transition phase. So right now it's set up with me on the front end. And so I will still do the leads, the loan structure, the selling of the product. And then I'll hand it off to an assistant. Right now I have 4 assistants. The transition part of it is I have one assistant that's going to a junior role next quarter.
Oh,
And
okay.
so he'll no longer be assisting on my files, but just bringing in his own.
Yeah.
And then I have another assistant that is working on, hopefully within the next year, transitioning into the junior role rather than assisting. But right now she's doing a combo. So she'll, on certain files, she'll do the front end for me, and I will just kind of shadow or double check the work just to make sure everything is where we should be. And then I have a new assistant that I just hired on that is helping with the front end. And then I have one back end assistant.
Okay.
Because I only have one back end assistant, I don't feel like she can handle all of our files. And so on refinances, I have 2 of my assistants run them all the way through.
Okay. Wow.
So
That's, you know, it's fascinating. 2 things hit me in that is, number one, just the thought that you have on how you're setting it up and transitioning. And then the second part is, I love that you've got 2 people. I'm assuming you probably brought them into the business to be your assistants, and they didn't have experience or very little, and now they're going to be joining the team as a junior. I mean, that's such a great thing, you know, how you're bringing other people along.
yeah, that's one of the things that I love. I mean, that's why I chose to kind of go back to the management role, is just, I love being there to help people grow. And so whether it be somebody in the branch or somebody on my team, I really enjoy that piece of it. So, I mean, if I can bring somebody in and a few years, they can be a junior, even go off on their own, like, I'm not opposed to that either. I mean, I love that. 3 of my assistants are new in the business, and one of them, which is my newest hire, came from a different office at Caliber. So very seasoned, been in the business for 15 years, but the other 3, yeah, they were new to the business.
Wow, fascinating. What do you think any of your kids will get into it?
My youngest really wants to. He's been bugging me for years, and I told him he has to get through college first.
Yeah. It's a big trend. I mean, we are seeing it, you know, the number of family members joining teams across the Caliber. It's exciting. I mean, there's, you know, look, it's exciting for me to say, wow, that seems so great. You have to manage it, but it is nifty to see how people are bringing, you know, family members into the business and transition.
Yeah, you see a lot of that, you know, I mean, when you're out talking with people in the business, it's like, you know, their mother, father, aunt, uncle, brother, like, a lot of them is a kind of a family business.
Yeah. What about shifting gears just a little bit? You know, technology is playing a bigger role in, you know, our customers' lives, our lives. Is there anything, I mean, I know you have to use H2O and whatnot, but are there any other technology apps or tools or things that you use to run the team, the business, that you think, geez, this is critical, this is what makes it really work?
Well, I use a couple different things. I don't know if, I mean, just depending on what I feel like might be where the question is going. I mean, is it technology that helps us get files through the process faster, or if it's technology keeping stuff like information all in one space? So
Any and all of the above, just that you know, could be marketing, could be just something that you think is really a core to some of your success of you and your team.
So I think HomeBot is probably the best marketing tool that we have. I mean, I get a lot of leads, inquiries from that. So I know I get a lot of repeat business. I have clients that refer family and friends to be part of HomeBot. So I feel like that is something that definitely helps on the marketing side. I don't particularly like log in and use it very often, but I know that things are coming my way because of it. So as far as like a marketing tool, I feel like Caliber already offers that, and that's one of the best things that you can use. For my database, I use Jungo.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everything on a clear picture of where I'm at on files, where things are going, has my whole database. I can pull a report really quickly and know who my target area is, if rates drop, or if it's been a year and I need to get somebody out of MI. I mean, it's just a couple clicks of a button and I know where my leads are.
Yeah.
So I feel like having a database like that is really important just for growth. And then also with a team, you want to have a clear picture of where you're at on your files. So I think that helps with that as well.
Yeah. What about, and that's fascinating. And again, we hear so many different pieces that, obviously the database, whether that's Jungo or another one, the HomeBot is a big one, but it is amazing of how one of the interviews I was doing earlier today, the person has, an app for referrals and making sure that when you do get those referrals in, that they go in and you keep them on a cadence for the calls and whatnot. And so it's just, all these little technology tools that, are available in our industry. It's pretty amazing. What about as you think about, you've obviously, as you talked about coming through before the financial crisis, but now looking ahead, anything that as you kind of think about that next phase of our business, things that either you're doing to prepare for it, or you think people like me should be doing to prepare for, changes in our business? Anything you think about on that front?
Well, I just think, obviously being on the forefront of technology, as it's easier and easier to get more information on clients through technology rather than having to get it directly from them. I think that's gonna be the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I know Caliber, we put a lot of money into technology. So, just making sure that we stay on the forefront of it.
Yeah, really a lot of it where I think kind of the cool thing is that, we're doing so much more of our purchase production is the millennial generation, who is, it was 62% last year of our purchases, and they're using realtors at a higher level and which is phenomenal for what we do, but they're going to expect even more of the speed and ease of interacting with us, which actually I think is great, because people like you and your team, you get to focus on what you do really well, and that is, generate the business and being out and however you want to call it, of sales in every aspect, and not having to spend as much time on the administrative side. I think that'll continue to be one of the benefits, both for the consumer as well as what you do. So that's a good piece. What about, so as talking a little bit about your team and how you're set up, obviously operations is a key part of what we all do. Any tips or thoughts about how you interact with, your processors, underwriters, closers that you think you do? Maybe it's better or the same as everybody else, but just any tips there?
Yeah, one of the biggest things here in our office that me and Casey have been really trying to promote is just kind of blending ops and sales together. We want to be like one family, not two different groups. And so, it really comes down to, just like we try to grow our business relationships, we have to have those relationships with ops as well. Mm-hmm. So, we have one processor that handles with all of our files. The one that I'm currently is on my team was a hire on my end. Her husband used to work for me when I was a broker. He's in insurance now. And so, I have a good relationship with her already outside of business. And it's just grown even more now that she's a part of the business. She was a processor years ago before the market crash as well. So she did come with some experience, but it was, a lot has changed in 10 years. Mm-hmm. So I think really it comes down to relationships. And one of the things that we really strive for here at our office is just making sure that our funders, underwriters, our processors all know that we appreciate them,
Yeah.
and really trying to build those strong relationships with them.
It's the basics of, any relationship in any industry, but it's often so hard for people to grasp, right? And I'm sure you've seen it go badly, and it is amazing on that. I also love what you say, that the acting is one, because I mean, to me, we sell a commodity, right? A 30-year fixed loan, and what makes every deal different is that customer and where they work and their credit profile, et cetera. And so having an approach where we recognize the only way we win, the only way that we're better than anyone else when you're selling, is our service, right? And the closer you tie in, I think that's a great comment on that piece. So now these are the hard questions. So what was your first paying job?
Oh, goodness. So I feel like I was very fortunate. When I was 15, 1992, Seafirst Bank came out with a youth job program. Oh. They were hiring 70 students in Washington State. And they gave us a job. I worked, I think, 3.5 hours a day during the school year, and then full-time during the summer. Also, another perk of the program was a $10,000 scholarship to WSU. Wow. And so I feel very fortunate because number one, it kind of got me into a real job. I wasn't in the food industry like many people. It also got me like career minded, and then also kind of in the financial realm. So that was my first job at 15, and I held that job until just before I was 19. Wow,
that is, I mean, those are the programs, right? I mean, I guarantee you there was some executives in some boardroom, and they probably set out for whatever goal to build a program, but if they knew the impact it had on you all these years later, both personally and professionally, that's a great story. And I'm sure you probably even remember your first boss there too.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, those are phenomenal stories, and that's I will tell you, we get a lot of paper routes, we have a lot of food, to your point, but you, hands down, that is the first one where at 15 to be able to go into that kind of a program, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's
very
great.
Fortunate.
So what about, this is, our crazy business, and, it's stressful, yet, obviously you've got, kids and all that. Is there any favorite hobby or anything outside of work that you do to help you relieve from all this nutty stress and crazy business?
Yeah, so I would say probably the number one hobby would be soccer. I'm pretty big on kind of just exercise in general, like a lot of the events, if I'm trying to like hang out with people or, grow relationships within people in the office, or personal relationships or business relationships, I always like to tie it into some kind of exercise. But I think the number one would be soccer. My whole family plays soccer. My husband grew up, he played college, semi-pro. He now still plays on like a men's over 30 team in Seattle. So once a week, I mean, it's his thing to do. I play on a team. My father-in-law coached for over 30 years. 2 of my boys play competitive soccer in local leagues. And then my 19-year-old plays professionally for the Seattle Sounders.
Oh, wow. So, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Real big soccer family. Like if there's a soccer game going on, we're probably there.
Yeah. So you get to, not only do you play, but then you get to go cheer him on, and that's fascinating.
They kind of roped me into it. I started playing in my mid-30s. So it was like, hey, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's great exercise. I have a lot of fun, and I definitely have no skill, but I'll go out and work.
That's right.
Have a good time.
Hard work makes up for a lot of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last one, there's a lot of talk in the industry, or not the industry, just everyone wants to know what do they, those who are successful, they must be doing something unique in the morning. What's their morning, anything in your morning routine that you think helps set you up for success on the day?
So I'm a big evening night gal.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm probably up until, 11, 12, sometimes 1. Mornings are hard for me.
Yeah.
I will say since March of this year, I've been really trying to focus on having a morning routine, or getting up and kind of getting my day started. So I have been working out in the morning 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get me up and going, but it's still, I wake up at 6:50, work out, and then get to the office. I don't really have like a big morning routine, no meditation, anything like that, even though, I mean, they all say you should. I'm working baby steps. The 3 days a week working out in the morning is a good start, and hopefully able to build from there.
Yeah, no, I think, but there's as much those who have the very rigid routines. I think it's also great. I fall into your camp. I'm disciplined, but it's all over the map on when I get up and what I do. So the world needs both. You can win both ways. So.
Yeah.
Well, Wendi, I thoroughly enjoyed the chat, and I know anybody watching this is going to take some great nuggets away. And most importantly, out of the whole thing, thank you for spending a little bit of your time. I know it's valuable, and really just you are what Caliber is about. And I'm just so thankful to have people like you and all that you do for this company, and the fact that you share a little insight into your world is so awesome. So thank you for that, and really appreciate what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks, James.
Thank you for tuning in to the Home Connection podcast from Caliber Home Loans. Please see the show notes for links to topics discussed in this episode, and be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.